Pleasant good morning to our listeners via Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9. Good morning. Welcome to another edition of To The Point. Also, those of you viewing via GBN TV, whether you're viewing Channel 7, Channel 11, or Channels 20, good morning and welcome. What about our social media audience? Those of you via our Facebook page, YouTube channel, GBN's webpage, good morning and welcome. It's To The Point for today, Thursday, the 20th day of July. And Thursdays, you know, we do entertain there, of course, the Royal Grenada Police Force, various departments within the Royal Grenada Police Force. Today we do have the Traffic Department and the Community Relations Department with us this morning. Let me say good morning to Corporal Andy George. I think it's the first time I'm having you on the show. Maybe not your first time on To The Point. And let me say good morning to Corporal Sherwin Noel. And I like to refer to him as the regular. Yeah, always with here on To The Point. Good morning to you, gentlemen, and welcome.
Good morning to you, GTA. Good morning to your viewers and listeners.
All right. Hey, folks, this morning our conversation will be the effects of excessive use of alcohol and drugs. And officers, you know, it's an important subject being in light of the season that we're into, you know, Carnival and the various events that will be taking place. Folks will get the tendency to, you know, to want to overdo, especially when it comes to use of drinking alcohol and the use of other drugs and whatever substance folks want to get involved in. So it's important that we speak about it. I think it's very timely for us to have a conversation in relation to that. And let's kick it off with some opening remarks from both of you in terms of the overall conversation we're going to have this morning. Before we get into details more, what we expect to throw in, especially for our listening and viewing audience. Who want to take the lead this morning?
Well, I will take the lead. and Gary, this morning we just want to remind our listeners that listening to the topic, one may think that why the police should be the ones coming on air to talk to us about the effects of the excessive use of alcohol and drugs. But the excessive use of alcohol and drugs really impact the way the police respond or react, you know, to situations, and it is one of the contributing factors to a growing or increase in the amount of reports we have of domestic violence, you know, housebreaking and stealing, and a number of other crimes and traffic violations that we see occurring. And you know, we decide to use this approach, especially around now, so that, you know, our citizens can become more aware of what is taking place in the environment and steps they can take in order to reduce the impact of, you know, such conduct or behavior in our society.
All right. We have Corporal Andy George. Any opening remarks, especially from you were representing the Traffic Department? Any opening remarks for us this morning?
Yes. Thank you again. I'm here basically to highlight some of the ills of drinking. Right. I'll basically speak on drinking and driving or drunk and driving. Right. That would be my general focus.
Okay.
So I'm here to basically speak on that and the dangers and certain behaviors that should be exhibited that they would persons, now that we're in the festive season, that they would try to adapt, right? So then it will make the road safer for themselves and other road users.
All right. Let's continue our conversation with you, of course, Corporal Andy George. Let's talk about the regulation, penalties regarding driving while intoxicated. Because, you know, as I mentioned in my opening statement, it's a season that we're into. And folks have the tendency to overdo things, especially when it comes to the use of alcohol. We go to parties and we go to other events, and we get a tendency to want to drink. Give us some of the regulations and penalties. Let's focus a wee bit on the regulation and penalties first.
Okay. Well, the section that deal with drinking, drunkenness, drunken driving is section 62A. Okay, and but just generally 62 deal with the whole. Thank you. Section 62 deal with the whole drinking and driving and so forth, right?
Yeah.
But one would normally, before I go to the penalties, right? I would just want to highlight that one would normally think that the only offense that comes under with alcohol and driving is getting drunk, right? But there is also an offense that person could be charged, which is a ticketable offense, and that is drinking alcohol while driving.
Okay.
Right.
So that's a separate in terms of offense altogether.
Yeah, no, it's under the same section, but this doesn't require you to be above the accepted standard.
Once you're drinking and
long as you're drinking alcohol and you're driving, it is an offense, right?
Even though you haven't gotten to the level of being intoxicated.
Exactly.
But once you're drinking and driving,
right?
Okay, that's understandable.
That offense is a ticketable offense, and when you would be issued a fixed penalty ticket of $100, or the maximum is $500.
So let me just break this down a bit. I'm driving. I may have a glass in my hand with whatever alcohol beverage in it. Could it be as simple as a regular beer per se? I could be ticketed for that.
Yes, it could be ticketed for that, right?
Right.
And but in the case of drunken driving now, that's where you would have surpassed the accepted standard, which is 70 micrograms per 100 milliliter of bread, right? And the other islands like Northern Ireland and Wales and so forth is 35. So Grenada have a very high level of tolerance, right? That penalty now you could, on the first offense, you would be fined up to $5,000 and spend 1 year in prison.
Okay.
Right. On the second or subsequent conviction, you could be fined up to $10,000 and 2 years imprisonment if you're found guilty. That's on the second occasion.
All right. Now, I'm assuming individuals who are listening to this right now are probably surprised, especially by the first statement you played, by simply walking with or not, let me say not walking, but driving and having in your possession alcohol. How can that the police determine after moving on now in terms of the alcohol level that individuals that have? How does one determine that it becomes an offense? How does the police determine that becomes an offense?
Well, firstly, as I would have stated, having alcohol is just drinking alcohol and driving is an offense. Okay, we had some difficulty a few years before there was the intoximeter, which is the instrument that we use to measure the level up. Okay, now there is in that meter you insert something like a cup over that. You could pass it over the drink and you just test the presence. So long as they recognize that there is a presence of alcohol, persons should be ticketed, right, based on the regulation.
All right.
But the point of prosecution where you become drunk now, this is a little bit more detailed. You would have to actually do 2 tests, right? And I think I have the machine with me, so I don't know if later on you allow me to give a slide.
We can take a demonstration right now. It's absolutely no problem. We can actually take a demonstration as we move along, in terms of the breath analyzer and so forth. Let's take a demonstration. That's absolutely no problem. So the officer is going to demonstrate this morning, the breath analyzer, because it all goes under the same condition in terms of driving under the influence. And once the officers stop you or so forth, and they decide, well, they presume that you're under the influence of alcohol and you need to be tested. This is a machine here, so folks, during the season that's going around, if you're thinking about getting yourself involved in the consumption of alcohol and you want to drive, you could run into a problem. Tell us about the one you have in here. What this one really does?
This is the Alka-Sensor FST, right? The FST means field sobriety test, okay? And this is used, for instance, after I would have responded to an accident scene or observed somebody drinking alcohol. The officer would approach the person, have a conversation, observe the demeanor and so forth, and if they would have enough reason to believe that the person intoxicated or is driving without alcohol, they would to test the presence of alcohol. That's where you would give a person a ticket. You would take this mouthpiece here, actually, insert it on top here, and just basically pass it over the drink, right?
Okay. So that one just goes over the whatever container, whatever exactly. you presume has alcohol in it.
Right. So this would basically give you the presence of alcohol. It wouldn't really give you like a reading to say if it's 20, whatever. You just give a presence of alcohol, right? This machine also used as a first respondent on the scene, because before you would have actually go to the prosecution part, you have to do the FST, field sobriety test. So this now would also go where you would insert a straw into the device, okay? Allow the person, the subject, to blow on this end, and every time you will have to use a new cartridge, right? Allow the person to blow. This one would give you a reading. So if you're above 70, then they would go now to the evidential test. Okay. So this so then for the evidential test you would be using the Arca Sensor SL, right? This would be linked to a computer, a printer, and so forth, right? The same procedure will go use a separate straw, allow the person to go blow through it, right? This one now, if you would have, but after you would have used this machine, you have to give the subject 15 minutes break before you would have used the evidential.
And all of these machines are for field testing?
For field testing.
Okay.
And this one is for the evidential testing.
Okay.
Right? It could be done on the scene within the 15 minutes, or it could be done back at the station or so forth, right? So you have given the person 15 minutes to eliminate any more alcohol, right? Because if the person would have just taken a drink and you would have used this machine, they will show, you'll get a reading.
Yes.
But after 15 minutes would have lapsed, any more alcohol around your mouth and so forth would be eliminated, right? And so this machine would actually get the reading from your internal. Right. Okay. And after you would have showed the reading to the person, they would have go past 70 micrograms. Then you would have insert it here and do a printout, right? You would normally get 3 copies of the printout.
All right.
And you would sign that printout, give the person one as a disclosure, right? You keep one to put for prosecution and you keep one for your record.
All right.
Right? This machine, you could recall that test anytime. 2 years, a year after, you could always go back to
the memory of it is stored.
It's stored, right?
Okay.
And so that this is basically the general procedure how you would go.
All right. Another question I would like to ask in terms of the breathalyzer use: is it only being used when an accident occur, or it could be just how someone is getting involved in a fight or whatever, and you want to presume what the cause of it could be used for that purpose also? Well, assuming someone has been drinking and getting themselves involved in some altercation, can the machine be used for that purpose also, or just basically for accident use?
Well, generally we use it for accidents. So right. But if you want to test and see the person's alcohol level, I have no doubt that the machine is quite capable of doing that.
All
but not so much accident, just the behavior of persons.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, that's basically along the line where I was driving my question along. In terms of someone overall behavior, you want to know if they're intoxicated in terms of behavior and so forth. If the machine could be used for that purpose.
Yes. Well, as I said, our thing deal with the Road Traffic Act, right? In terms of that fact of it. So that is the area where I would speak. I've never known that they would have done in a civil issue where, or maybe a domestic dispute where we want to determine that.
Okay.
Right? Because they could also use the blood, they could get the level of alcohol through the blood mechanism.
Right.
But that would have been done at the hospital through a medical practitioner.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
With that note, refusing to submit to that is also an arrestable offense.
All right.
Right. So persons can say, "Listen, I'm not taking that, or I cannot take that." Right.
So you cannot dispute to the police that you do not want to take that test.
If you would have disputed that, you leave the police no choice than to commit to actually do a arrest as a refusal to submit to that breathalyzer test.
All right. We due for a break. Let's take a break in our first segment. We're coming back with more of the discussion this morning. We're talking the effects of use of alcohol and drugs. We have the Community Relations Department this morning and the Traffic Department. Stay with us, folks. We coming right back. It's to the point for today, Thursday the 20th.
At the NIS, our team proudly works to support the evolving needs of Grenadians. We have made some changes to our operations and want to keep you informed. Firstly, we are happy to introduce the new unemployment benefit. This benefit will provide an insured person with 50% of his or her former income in the case of sudden unemployment. To support this benefit and other benefits we offer, it was necessary to increase the contribution rate. The contribution rate will increase gradually each year until it reaches 16% in 2031. As always, the contribution will be split between you and your employer. The pensionable age will also increase from 60 to 65 years. This increase will also be gradually reaching age 65 in 2029. Pensioners will continue to be eligible for a pension from age 60, but will receive a reduced payment. The NIS recognizes that the prices of basic customer goods are increasing globally. Therefore, we are happy to also increase the weekly minimum pension payment by 25%. Finally, we have adjusted our survivor's benefit payment to a percentage of the age pension minimum. widows, widowers, and dependent parents will receive 100% or $58 weekly, while children will receive 50% or $29 weekly of the deceased's pension. We are here to make the transition to these new changes as clear and simple as possible. If you have any questions on how these changes impact you and your family, please contact our new informational hotline at 440-6647 or visit www.nisgrenada.org. Thank you for allowing us to be your social security provider.
Traditional Mass, the foundation of our carnival. It's where it all started. So on Saturday, July 29th, over task bands, we'll showcase our rich and deeply diverse traditional mass. Let's go to Hero Square, Victoria, in St. Mark from 3 p.m. Come see the Short Knee, Maypole, Wild Indians, Mocha Jumbies, and Vehicle as they parade the streets. Capture the experience, the color, the sights and sounds of what's truly ours. With free admission for the entire family. Log on to www.spicemassgrenada.com for everything carnival. Traditional Mass Festival, Saturday, July 29th, Hero Square, Victoria.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. Welcome back to another edition of To The Point for today, Thursday, the 20th. We have the Community Relations Department with us this morning and also the Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force. And our topic of discussion this morning, we're talking the effects of excessive use of alcohol and drug. And I want to go to, of course, Corporal Noel this morning. My question to you, we're talking the effects of the use of alcohol and drugs. And someone would say, yes, one of the prevalent part of the use of alcohol and drugs would be in terms of individual driving and so forth. Now, there's always the contentions of in other places and so forth where drugs and alcohol are used. What's the Community Relations Department point of view on that?
Well, GT is a major concern for us. We are seeing now an increase in the amount of, offenses, harm offenses, and also domestic violence, and which we, at a closer look, recognize that the excessive use of drugs and alcohol is a contributing factor. And we are saying that, it's something that we have to look at as a society, as a community. The tendency for one to go to an event, get high, return home, there are a number of, factors that would be, coming out of that situation, because you would go home under your height, that level of alcohol, that volume you consume, and then there are effects. So you would go home, you might be vomiting down the place, you might be using a set of obscenities, acting aggressively, want to fight with other persons in the household, the younger ones especially, they like this attitude of aggression. Sometimes, in the relationship, the man drink, the lady might be looking for a little excitement, and that can't happen. So, it brings a set of contention, and then fight take place, and the police is called out to respond to those situations. It's a challenge for us because, yes, it's a challenge for the victims as well. Because sometimes the one who actually, end up getting injured is the one who is intoxicated. Because at that time you are even sometimes defenseless.
Okay, your judgment now is impaired.
Yes, you are defenseless because you can't really respond, in a timely manner to defend yourself. You have this slurred speech, and when you get to the general hospital, most times it's a difficulty for the doctor to administer the appropriate treatment, because sometimes what they have to treat you with, it may not be compatible to the use of alcohol, and so you would have to wait until maybe the alcohol becomes weary. We're also looking at other drugs besides alcohol, so we're looking here at the use of marijuana and so on, and it's a complaint, GT. Too often we are getting complaints from family members different households, sometimes even to go to schools to address situations where, children or even adults may be consuming or using marijuana and reacting in this sort of way. We know marijuana is supposed to is a depressant, but at some stage, that tends to cause the person not to be thinking straight, and so they would feel that they can take on a challenge, maybe that they can't even handle, and this sets this sort of deviant behavior, this sort of thing that the children again smoking marijuana. Sometimes where are they getting the finances to do it? They are not working, not only children, but we know the different situations. If you go on the block, for instance, you pass through a place maybe like River Road where you live, you would see a number of persons lying on the block, and these are the persons who tend to be consuming the illegal drugs and alcohol more often. Where are they getting the monies from? So that would lead them with the tendency to go into other persons' property, commit the act of predial larceny, continually, trying to satisfy their habits, but they are not working, and so they would go, they would steal, they would sell, and continually doing the same thing. And with the cocaine, it's quite similar. With the cocaine, it's different from the marijuana because it's a stimulant. And the kind of heights that they would get from using the cocaine, and they would tend not to sleep, so they would lose sleep, they become nervous, sometimes, loss of memory, the eye may become dizzy, and not, they would tend to go into your houses, maybe break your house to get money to sell a television sometimes. I remember I was a victim of a situation like that at once, when someone, went into my house. I had a brand new sneakers, that I purchased to play a basketball game, and the person took the sneakers and they sold it. Went to the police station. I was already a police, made the report, and when it was discovered, it was a sneakers for $450, and they sold it for $50. Right. So sometimes it's a challenge for us to deal with situations like these, because other persons may be glad for the opportunity, yes, to get these expensive products and so on at a cheaper price, much more, less expensive than it actually is, and so it becomes an inconvenience for us as police officers, for our society, and for the persons being affected. Family get affected. Yes. Take for instance, back to Officer George with the traffic situation. Someone use alcohol or even smoke, sniff cocaine or snort it, as they say, and drive on the nation road with these sort of impediments, like the vision impaired, they might be hallucinating, or let's say, for instance, they get a serious headache, they knock out, they block out, as the case might be, and run off the road and damage, kill someone.
Other road users now run into problems.
Yes, and other persons are left with permanent injuries. Sometimes they lose their lives, and life is not something that we can replace. Sometimes it is a crucial factor. Sometimes that is the only person in the family who is able to bring in an income, and the rest of the family might be depending on them. And so we have to be very, very careful with how we treat with those situations, and we're asking members of the community here to play a part. Sometimes we throw a blind eye to situations, and not knowing that tomorrow it may be our turn. And so we're asking you to play your part, even if it means to have a conversation with someone that might be indulging in the consumption of excessive alcohol, or even the misuse of other drugs. Have a conversation with them. At least let them know that you care. Sometimes all they want is to know that somebody really care about them. And so the RGPF, we are the biggest concern body. And so we are not only here to arrest you and to bring you to prosecution. Yes, if the situation arises where you have to be arrested, you will be. But we are very concerned, and we are asking you to please check on yourselves. Your health is more important.
It's a simple question of asking why you want to get into the use of alcohol. Okay, sometimes people have the problem arises, and that's where the health effects comes in there right now. Folks, someone may say, why are you using alcohol or whatever drug that you may be using? Well, that's where the health effect comes in. Now, how concerned is the RGPF, especially the Community Relations Department, in terms of the health effects from folks who consume alcohol or even other drugs or other substance?
Well, GT, I should say we are very, very concerned. And as a matter of fact, you see, the Community Relations Department, our present staff, speaks volume in relation to how concerned we are. Most of the officers at the department are officers who were once executive members of the Police Welfare Association. And we have a heart for people. Yeah, we have a heart especially for our officers and our community. And we want to encourage officers too. We know that sometimes the stress is overwhelming, and so seek advice. Speak to someone who is close to you. We have seen in recent times, GT, the increase in what we call, what persons refer to as suicide, yeah? Mm-hmm. Whether it might be by hanging or otherwise. And sometimes, it's just, as I was saying, it's just a lack of, this ability to interact or to speak with, or just this feeling of, you're all alone to handle this burden. Yes? So we are telling you here that, yes, we are concerned. So if you really have a concern, you need someone to speak to, you can call our office. GT, we are more than willing to listen to your conversation, even though it means that we'll have to do a referral, but we are more than willing to have a conversation with you and to give you a good advice in relation to, yes, the excessive use of alcohol and other drugs. Because we know for a fact that sometimes it's because you say you have stress, you want to take a drink, thinking that, okay, I would take a drink and the stress would go away.
And that's only temporary.
Is a temporary fix. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, you become, you'll be left, in this sort of way that you might be thinking that you can handle what you are getting involved with. And to only find out or realize later that you're not capable of dealing with the situations. We know to get over these substances, to recuperate, to fully revive from this addiction, yes, the alcohol addiction, the cocaine addiction, it's a challenge. Our family members who have been struggling, to get over drug substance abuse for a very long period of time, been to rehabilitation sometimes more than two occasions, and still struggle with getting over these situations. So it's something difficult. It's something that, don't think that you can handle it all by yourself. You would need a collaborative effort, not only from the police, because I guess most people see the police as the one to come and arrest them and bring them to prosecution and justice, but not only with the police, with the Ministry of Social Development, with the Drug Control Secretariat, with other agencies, the rehabilitation center that Corporal was working so hard, or continue to work so hard on, reviving, and the Monge Hospital, because the Monge Hospital still functions. There's the rehabilitation center that operates at the Monge Hospital. So there's alternative. And we see that the police, we are here and we are struggling to deal with just the increase in the volume of crime. To add to that, the use of these substances that would make individuals become more aggressive, or sometimes, even more vulnerable in some instances, because not only do it cause persons to act aggressively, but it causes persons to become vulnerable and open to, abuse and other other factors like this. So, yes, it's a major concern for us.
All right, let's go to Corporal Andy once again. Now, from the traffic department point of view, let's talk a bit in terms of the best ways we could especially speak to citizens this morning in terms of the the avoidance of intoxication. But that would lead to you having to use the breathalyzer and so forth. Let's talk a wee bit about that. Some of the best ways in which folks could avoid being intoxicated.
Well, GDM, first and foremost, abstinence.
Yes.
If you don't drink alcohol, you will not get drunk. Number one. Okay. Secondly, person would go out, consume alcohol, right? I would advise persons that they would keep a tab, right? Know what is the tolerance level and keep a tab. Drink within your limit. All right. Sometimes you could be distracted, so you could ask the bartender himself to keep, okay, I need to have 4 drinks tonight. That's my limit.
Don't allow me to go beyond that.
Exactly.
Or you have a really genuine friend. You could say, after I have my first, second, or third, or fourth.
That's it.
Hey, tell me that's it.
We're in the social age right now.
Yeah.
Right? There is apps on your phone that could tell you, listen, you have enough. So, I mean, there is ways you could do that, right? You could even dieting, right? Nutrition, the way you eat, right? That would, based on what you eat, would determine how, what intake you could actually observe, right? And snacking, while you're consuming, you could also snack. While you're snacking, that would cause you to consume less, right? Also, it will assist you in putting food into your system. We will also assist you in being less intoxicated. Yes.
All right.
So there's a lot of measures and persons could use, and that's only a few of them that.
All right. We due for another break. Let's take it. Saying good morning also to our viewing and listening audience. If you do have a question or two you would like to ask the officers, feel free to do so. Our number 435-2041. Let's take a break, folks. We're coming right back. Stay with us here on To The Point. Don't touch your dial.
Chances to multiply your Playway winnings by adding Multi-X to your regular Playway bets to win up to 5 times more. Imagine winning as much as $1,200 instead of $240 with a $10 Playway bet by simply adding Multi-X. Place your Playway bets from $1 to $10 or in increments on your favorite Playway symbols or numbers. Then add the Multi-X option at the same value to win 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more. Or free plays. With Multi-X, you must bet the same amount wagered on your regular Playway bets for your winnings to be multiplied. Grenadians, value your dreams and win your way as much as 5 times more. With Multi-X added to Playway and watch your money grow. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Republic Bank CPL 2023 will be one for the books. The most exciting cricket series, the Caribbean Premier League, is back and bigger than ever. 34 games across 5 territories and only one channel in Grenada, GBN, bringing you live ball-by-ball coverage of the Republic Bank CPL 2023 on GBN television, channel 7 and 11, 20 on cable, from Wednesday, August 16th to Sunday, September 24th. Sponsors, get on board now. Grenada's broadcast of Republic Bank CPL 2023 is made possible by Republic Bank. We're the one for you. The National Lotteries Authority, Grenlec, and Hard On Plus. King of the Grill 2023 is made possible by Quartz, Grenada Limited, Rubis, the National Lotteries Authority, Coca-Cola, Coyaba Beach Resorts, and Duty Free Caribbean Holden.
Welcome back once again to our listeners and viewers. As mentioned, we do, of course, will ask you viewers and listeners this morning if you do have a question or two for the officers on the topic that we're speaking on this morning. We're talking about the of course, excessive use of alcohol and drugs. If you want to speak on that, feel free to. If you do have a question or two, let's go to the phone line. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Hello, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. And kudos to the police officers for educating us about alcohol and what they do in terms of addressing that issue. My question to you is that right now, for example, it's after 9 going for 10, and some people may be at work, etc. How do we have an additional means of reaching a larger audience, so to speak, to facilitate deliverance of that message that's so important, especially at this time? And I have some suggestions. In addition to the point, there should be times throughout the day, especially leading up to Carnival and times when we'll have such increased prevalence of alcohol consumption, to educate the public, to make sure we reach the target audience. One way is that when we have an event, like a show, for example, in the park, at the start of the event, we should probably have a public announcement regarding alcohol consumption. If the event is to end at 1 o'clock in the morning, around 10, 11, or so on, whatever the time dictated by science, we can say no more drinks will be served. So I think those things are very important. The other thing, and I think that one of the officers hinted at that kind of obliquely a little while in this discussion, is that the best way is to not consume alcohol. Yet for all, we have a culture that promotes the consumption of alcohol. In our advertisement, in our shows, etc. And I think, we kind of, on one hand, we're trying to mitigate the problem. And yes, I think testing for alcohol and so on is very important. And we should do that and up the ante on that. But I also think that along that, parallel with that, we need to not normalize the excessive promotion of alcohol consumption. And I think that will go a long way to supplement what the police are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution. Any response to the caller's contribution this morning, officers?
Yes, I do want to commend the caller for such contribution. He made a number of points, and what really stayed with me is the point that, GT, we would really like to reach a greater, audience, a greater target, in terms of number of persons listening to our program. I don't know if at some other point in time GBN can rebroadcast or but what happens is that our department visits, various media houses and share this information. But the time of the day, it's a big, thing that we look at. Right. Most of the times we know that persons are at work. Right. And so again, you made a next point in relation to the alcohol at the events. I for a fact know that the flowers don't blossom well in the rain alone, but with a little sunshine, together with the rain. So I do hope that the promoters take this advice as a good one. And what I know they do is that they have a sober zone where, water is served and persons can go and, try to recuperate from the amount of alcohol they would have consumed. Yeah. And we hope that the sober zone would continue. And so persons who have to drive and so would really go into that sober zone and sober up before they head for home.
That leads me to a question I would like to ask. Is there any law that permits the police that they can step in at a particular time in an event and say the sale of alcohol should stop? Is there any law that governs that?
Not that I know of, GT, but at the various the various bars and so on, there are different types of license.
I know for the shops is
yes, but at the events, not that I know of.
All right, let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Yes, good morning. I heard the police talk about community police and working along with the police, but I had an experience whereby we had a teenager in the house who started experimenting with marijuana. We called the police department for intervention. We didn't want them to arrest them, but we were hoping that there would have been some level of intervention from the police department to talk to the individuals to show them the seriousness of it. Lo and behold, we were told that if they come to the house and they found any marijuana, everybody in the house will be arrested. What sort of policing is that? Or sort of intervention to help? You know? We had some other experience again, whereby speaking to a police, and he said that parents want the police department to do the parenting of their children, and it's not the case. So, you know, your children seeing you every day, right? But sometimes the different perspective, hearing the seriousness of it from the authority, I should say the law authority point of view, could also put some perspective into the children, but we don't get that from the police. They have this thing out that if they come into your premises and they found any illegal substance, everyone will be arrested. I've spoken to several police officers, and they say that is the case.
All right, thank you, caller, for your contribution.
Yes, again, the difference in policing, and as you rightfully said, at Community Relations Department, we do more community policing. So I guess maybe speaking to the right set of officers, someone who is attached to the narcotics department, I mean, may see it from a different approach. But we look at building a relationship with the community for what we consider the greater good. So where we would get the better results. So would we get the better results if we arrest, if we have a conversation and the issue sits once and for all? And I believe that the first approach, you know, by the officer, maybe as a result of maybe the department the police officer may be attached to, or you know, his experience or exposure to community policing. And I believe that you should maybe call our department and have a conversation with anyone at the department, and we'll be in a position maybe to assist, maybe have a conversation with you and the persons who may be affected, you know, speaking about the young individuals, or maybe you can bring them into our office and we can have a conversation, or maybe arrange for a conversation to take place.
All right, let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Gary and the police officer. I just want to ask two questions and a comment. You say the excessive use of alcohol. What is considered excessive for a person? Because one might be excessive, one drink might be excessive for another, two might be excessive for another. Another thing, is there a standard proof that the Bureau of Standard have that you should know, well, this is the proof content of alcohol? And then also, we see a lot of bars, sometimes in funeral and bloco and different things being held. I know they usually say that when you have to sell alcohol, you must get a license. Do the police check that if people by the roadside in funerals selling alcohol, in blockos selling alcohol, do they make spot check and ask them to produce a license for selling alcohol? Or we only consider the license is effective when there is a shop? Because in my view, people consume a lot of alcohol outside of the shop. So what are there to make a check? Somebody selling by the road, no license. What do we do? And what do you consider to be excessive in terms of measurement and the proof what the Bureau of Standard have? Do we have something from the Bureau of Standard as to the alcoholic proof in the various type of alcohol? Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution. Any response to the caller's comments?
Yes. We'll start with firstly the vending by the funerals and so on and other events. In terms of license, yes, once you're selling alcohol, you should have, in under these sort of conditions, you should have what we refer to as a temporary license, which can be obtained from the Inland Revenue from the court, sorry. Yeah, but you would have to first get 2 references from persons with
permanent license,
permanent license and so on, and go to the Inland Revenue, pay a fee, and the license may be granted. I shouldn't say will. It's not something automatic. The volume of alcohol, again, the Bureau of Standards, under the Bureau of Standards, most bottled drinks. Yes, once it goes through the proper authority, should be labeled as and stating the volume of alcohol that it contains. And again, Corporal George mentioned earlier on what is labeled as excessive alcohol, and that can be determined by a number of factors. As you rightfully say, your body mass, your diet, things. One person might be able to consume 5 carb and another person 2, and he mentioned the 70 micrograms of alcohol, and that is not only determined by the officer. Yeah, the officer wouldn't just come and say, okay, you're above the required, volume. There is a test that is done. So it's not a biased thing to say like the officer just want to give that man a ticket because he see the man and the man looking drunk. It's something that may have been done in the past, but now as the officer demonstrated, we have the instrument to measure, and so we are in a better position to go forward.
And this comes into play here with Corporal Andy, what he said that in terms of officers getting the necessary training. Tell us about your training in terms of the how the testing and so forth are done.
Yes, thanks again. Well, actually, I've been a certified intoximeter operator since 1997. Okay, I was trained and certified from that company that is attached to Chicago, right? And I've been using that instrument for the past 97 to now.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Another question I would like to ask before we do have a call on that. How regular does the police have the option of using that particular device, especially here in Grenada?
Well, pretty often, okay, because as I said, we know that we're in the festive season, and there was a saying I don't know how true that is. Grenada is the leading consumption of alcohol in the world. So a lot of persons, I don't know if they try to live up to his standard, which is not even a good standard, not even a good reputation, but we see persons drive. So I myself would have several opportunities to use that, right?
Okay.
Also, there is other officers who is qualified throughout the length and breadth of the island, to other departments that I know of who have actually used that instrument to and actually have go through and get conviction on a few in that way.
All right. Let's have to entertain this caller. Caller, good morning. Sorry for having you on hold. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, caller, go right ahead, please.
Hello, good morning. As far as I see it, I'm 88 years now. And I never see what going on, Like, to me, I see them police afraid those people. Afraid them. Because before when I was small, I used to run when I see police. But now they're fighting down them police. Them police need to train like American police. And in America, you see them police are they gone wrong their ways. And you can't play stupidness with them.
All right, caller, thank you for your contribution this morning. Let's take a couple of questions from some folks via the Facebook page. Let's take this one. This individual, that's Ernesto, is saying in the U.S., a DUI is a very serious thing when one can lose their vehicle, their vehicles, to say. Question, and the question is an empty alcohol bottle found in a vehicle during a stop, can the driver be charged? That's one part of the question. Also, do DUI drivers put to walk in a straight line, make them touch the tip of their nose with their finger? What are the suicide rate in the RGF amongst officers, and is it very high? She's saying that it's very high in the NYPD. What is it like in Grenada? If who could answer that question?
Well, just allow me to speak on the point where the person talking about walking a straight line. Okay, that is only a test that has been done just to first determine whether or not the person is intoxicated. Okay, you also would use as a slurring of speech. You also use the person compliance. Sometimes they're very talkative. You know, you would get the scent of alcohol. So there are different things, right? We cannot take walking in a straight line because there is other reason that could cause person to have difficulty walking in a straight line, right? It don't necessarily mean that the person has to be intoxicated. But as I say, yes, it might be a point that you could use to determine factor. But what we actually would have used is a intoximeter that would actually determine. But there is other factors, maybe just the general conduct of the persons. We will use that to determine first.
All right, and that's when you use something to actually give you the actual evidence that someone is.
Yes, that you need to go to that stage where you need to verify the amount of alcohol in that person's system.
All right. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Just a quick observation and a quick question. First off, in terms of that determination factor, it's one thing to look at a person's mass, and I admit that this is just one means that police officers can use. But let's say perhaps a person has been using other drugs or something like that before drinking. That is one thing. And then, too, I'm wondering, forgive me if I missed it earlier and you had addressed it, bare bottles. Look at what happened in the bus terminus with that stabbing of that young man, and that argument was over a cell phone, you know. So somebody gets 2-3 bears in their head, as we say, or something, an argument comes up. Is there something that's going to be done to regulate beer bottles? Maybe beer should be poured out in cups or something like that. Just asking. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution there. Anybody want to respond to the caller?
Yes, wonderful. And Tony, is on point with that because for the persons at events and so, it's one of the conditions that we set out in their license in granting these permissions, and is that alcohol should not be sold in glass bottles or breakable bottles. It should be poured into a paper cup and served. At the bus terminal in particular, there is this. That is a rule. It's a law under the bus terminal, and alcohol should not be sold in glass bottles.
Okay.
I believe it's something that, in my own humble opinion, but I'm here in the capacity of a police officer, but I believe it's something that should be done nationwide. The selling of alcohol for consumption, direct consumption, should not be in glass bottles. But it may take some time, and it may be a challenge to accomplish, but I generally would recommend that.
All right. Let's entertain another caller before we take a break. I guess we lost that caller there. I do have a question here from someone online also via the Facebook page. They're saying they're asking for the police officers to come together and be on same page in reference to community policing, and they like to give to develop a policy in terms of that.
Yes, GT, there is a policy. Community policing, unlike traditional policing, because you see, community policing is a more strategic approach. Yes, it's a more strategic approach. It's the police working together with the community to accomplish and to go beyond. And the traditional policing is something that you find it very difficult to break out of people. But the traditional policing do have its advantages, and at times we think that it's necessary. But I understand what the caller is saying, is that there is a community policing policy, and we would like to see, as the caller say, a more cohesive approach in terms of all police officers working along with this policy, and not just one bird singing that song and another bird singing another way. All so right. But we understand it's a challenge. Anything new, anything that is fresh on the market, you would find that there's a some hiccups.
Exactly.
Yes, but
and it takes everybody a time to mesh together to get it right.
But as we say, hopefully at the end of the day, we would at least hit the clouds because we're aiming for the stars.
All right. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Morning, sir. And how are you?
Not bad at all.
Yeah, what my input is might be strange or funny, but I do my own studies on this thing about crime. Grenada we cannot bring it back to normal. It's more and more forward it's going. And our pattern is not Trinidad, Jamaica, St. Vincent and these islands. We are following another pattern when I look at it. Now, what is going on is a well-organized thing worldwide. Maybe they never had a meeting. But if you look at the lyrics and the words of what are the music, right, for a party, the dress code for a party, the alcohol and illegal drugs for a party, right? Then you have the organized crime in this party. Even in the police force, you might find there's a man in the diary that will take a complaint from someone, from some serious crime persons. The next one coming in will see who take the complaint, and because of friends and its thing, they're going to pass it on to the people. So now the police that did not, he had to change because he's afraid that his family may get attacked. Right? Then you have where the guns coming in. Look at it. Then you have all wrong on the horticulture side in the farm. You have this way they call farm thing program where they I forget how they call it, previous larceny. You see it's inside there already. A jammer to sing a song about Grenada is a drunken nation. The Calypsonian give us a warning. Now, you can see on all the other blocks, there are organized crime thing going on. And with putting it all together, our pattern, because we are small and we are following, our pattern is Haiti. Because even the politicians embedded in this thing that you have this group that party is not in, then you have the jerseys, you have everything is organized towards that system. So it is technology, badman, and money take over. We have a very, very hard fight. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution. We're moving up to just about a minute before we wrap today's program. Officers, any closing comments before we take a wrap this morning?
Yes, GT, again, we just want to reiterate all the points that we made in a summary. And what we are saying here is to first monitor and know your limits and stay within it, as George rightfully said. Again, community, we have a cohesive part to play in that we should be looking out for one another and encouraging persons who we see falling apart through the excessive use of alcohol and other drugs.
All right. Corporal George?
Yes. Okay. So as my final comment, as we hear within the festive season, right? I'm basically speaking on alcohol. So my advice to the drivers in particular, if you decide to go out and decide to have fun and consume alcohol, please have a designated driver. Okay. So to the organizer events, right? If you when you put your event up, I advise you guys to please have a sober zone. Even during the event, have that advertisement that the caller would have earlier stated, that you advise person of the dangers of driving. Even on your big screen, you could have it in the intermission. So you keep reiterating to the persons safety, right? Because we know if you would have consumed alcohol and go behind that wheel, you could cause serious injury to yourself and other persons who could be scarred for life. So for the carnival season 2003 and beyond, we are advising the driving party population to be safe, exercise utmost caution.
All right.
Thank you.
I want to thank you both for your, of course, presentation this morning. Very fruitful information, and I'm sure the viewing and listening public did learn a lot. I want to thank all who contributed to today's program, whether it's via phone call, you viewed, you listened, you commented via our Facebook page. Thank you so much. Join us again for another edition. Until then, have yourself a good one, folks, and be good to yourself and others, as always. Here's where we say goodbye for this edition of To The Point.